Okay, we're back. So we're on number 14 here, and we're multiplying with radicals. Now, this is like you have a binomial, you have two terms, and then you have multiplying two terms. So what we're going to do here is double distribute, or you may have learned FOIL as the word. I'm going to take the first term in these parentheses, and I'm going to distribute it to the second parentheses. So I'm going to do 1 times 3, which is 3. 1 times negative 5 root 2 is just negative 5 root 2. I'll write it as minus 5 root 2. Now I'm going to take the square root of 2 and I'm going to distribute that. Root 2 times 3 is just positive 3 square root 2. Again, 3 is an outside number, so I can't combine that with the 2. I just put them next to each other. And then the last thing is square root 2 times negative 5 root 2. Don't forget about that negative. Okay, so that's minus 5. That doesn't change. Root 2 times root 2 is square root 4. But that's a perfect square. So that's really, this is minus 5 times 2. Think about it that way, minus 5 times 2. So that's actually, minus 5 times 2 is minus 10. So let me rewrite this. We've got 3 minus 5 square root 2 plus 3 square root 2 minus 10. Now we can combine some things. Positive 3 minus 10. 3 minus 10 is negative 7. And then you have minus 5 root 2 plus 3 root 2. We can add these because we have the same number underneath the radical symbol. Negative 5 plus 3 is minus 2 square root 2. And that's as far as we go. So the answer is negative 7 minus 2 square root 2. All right, 15. Again, we're going to double distribute. So let's start with 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative root 2 is negative root 2. Okay, I'll write it as minus root 2. Now we'll distribute the root 2. Root 2 times 1 is positive square root 2. Root 2 times negative root 2. A positive times a negative is a negative. And then the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. But again, you can say, hey, that's just minus 2. So what we have is 1 minus root 2 plus root 2 minus 2. Okay, like terms. 1 and minus 2, that's negative 1. Negative root 2, that's like a negative 1 root 2 plus 1 root 2. If you add negative 1 plus 1, you get 0. That's going to cancel out, and so the answer is actually negative 1. That's it. So you'll notice that sometimes your middle term will cancel, and if that's the case, this is what you're left with. You combine that and you're done. Number 16. This is going to be similar. 3 plus 4 square root 5 times 3 minus 4 square root 5. Well, let's double distribute. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative 4 root 5. 3 times negative, be careful, that's minus 12 square root 5. Now we're going to distribute 4 root 5 times 3. 4 times 3, those are the outside numbers. That's positive 12 square root 5. And then 4 root 5 times negative 4 root 5. Remember, we're multiplying. 4 times negative 4 is minus 16. Root 5 times root 5. Now that's going to be the square root of 25. But I know that square root of 25 is 5. So if you want to, you don't need to write square root 25. You can immediately put the 5 there. Now, middle terms. Negative 12 root 5 plus 12 root 5. That's 0. Negative 12 plus 12 is 0 when you add opposites. Equals 9. This will be minus 16 times 5 is minus 80. 9 minus 80 is negative 71. That's it. Again, if you want, you could check. If I take the first parentheses, 3 plus 4 square root 5, close parentheses, and then times 3 minus 4 square root 5, close parentheses, Negative 71. Bam, there's your answer right there. Everything's good. Okay, last one, number 17. Again, square root 3 minus 6, square root 3 plus 6. Double distribute. Root 3 times root 3. Now that would be square root of 9. 3 times 3 is 9. But the square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 3 times 6 is plus 6 root 3. All right, now let's distribute. That's a minus 6 times root 3, so it's minus 6 root 3. And then minus 6 times 6 is minus 36. Again, look at your two middle terms, positive 6 root 3, negative 6 root 3. When you add opposites, they cancel, they get 0. So we get 3 minus 36, which is negative 33. In number 15, 16 and 17, notice that your middle terms canceled. That is because you have the same terms, except one is using addition and one is using subtraction. Addition, subtraction, subtraction, addition. So something like, and this is the last thing we'll write down here, 3 plus 4 square root 5 and 3 minus 4 square root 5, those are called conjugates. And what happens is that when you multiply conjugates, the middle term is going to cancel out because you'll have opposites, and when you add opposites, you get 0. So those are conjugates. Square root 3 minus 6, square root 3 plus 6. Those are conjugates. And also the 1 plus square root 2, 1 minus square root 2, those are conjugates. And that is the end of the notes for today.